Hello, ma'am. As a humble beginning towards empowerment of our society through the technology and to create a better tomorrow, the technical committee of VIT Mumbai CSI presents to you an interactive as well as informative session on Hack It using Appwrite. A warm welcome to one and all. I'm Vidali Pawar, the host of today's event. To understand more about Hack It event, we have our guest speaker, Ms. Haimantika Mitra, who is a developer at Advocate at Upright and at a facilitator. She worked as a technical support engineer at Microsoft and has several achievements under her belt. Excited enough? So, without any further ado, let's begin with this session. Over to you, ma'am.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Vedali, for the wonderful introduction. And I welcome all of you to today's session. I hope you get some learning out of it. And before I start introducing myself or talking anything about the session, I would like to give a friendly tip or advice to all of you. So there are chances that after this session you don't recollect or remember everything that I told or spoke about today. But what you can do is, whatever terms you're learning for the first time, make sure that you're taking a note of it, and maybe after this session or whenever you're revising or doing your own thing about technology, you can get across these terms, and then that is how you remember that okay, there was this person from Appwrite who told us about open source, about Hacktoberfest, and about Appwrite. So yeah, that was my tip, and without any delay, let's get started. Meanwhile, in the chat section, maybe you can mention which college are you from. I'm expecting that all of you are from the same college. Which city do you belong from? Which year are you in? The stream that you're studying in. Anything else that you want to mention, put them on the chat below. Amazing. So as the slide shows in my screen, today we will be talking about introduction to Hacktoberfest. And hi, this is me. I'm Haimantika Mitra, and I'm a developer advocate at Appwrite. And I'm based out of Siliguri, which is in West Bengal, India. And currently, I'm working at Appwrite. But before this, like Vidali mentioned, I used to work at Microsoft in the Outlook and Exchange team. And as a developer advocate, my responsibilities include teaching developers about Appwrite, building the community, contributing to open source, and all of it that we will be talking about today. And below what you see is my Twitter handle. And in LinkedIn, I go by my full name, Haimantika Mitra. So at any time, if you want to discuss anything about tech, career, communities, anything at all, feel free to drop me a message on or DM on LinkedIn and Twitter. So yeah, that's about me, and I'm glad to be here. Moving forward, these are the few things that we will be talking about today. First, what is open source? Second, what is Hacktoberfest? Next, we talk about what is Appwrite, and then we will be talking about making your first contribution to Appwrite, or in general, how making a first contribution to any open source project works. And lastly, we have two more topics on what if you get stuck, and also some useful tools that will help you make a successful PR. So before we start, I would also love to know in the chat if you or if any of you have used GitHub before. If yes, I would also love to know if you have contributed to any projects or made your own repository. Basically, if you know the Git commands, if you have raised the PR, if you know about all of these, that's great, because I will not be covering those things here, but I'll expect that you know all of these, and then we can take things forward, and you can get started contributing. Also, let me know if anybody has contributed to any projects before. Amazing. I see some of you writing yes, and I see that you mentioned that you all are from VIT, and some of you are joining from Mumbai. Thank you for being here. Next, so we talk about what is open source. I know when we talk about open source, the first thing that comes to our mind is probably GitHub. But not only GitHub, there are other services as well, or products as well, like GitLab, which using which you can contribute to open source, or commit your code to open source. So what we need to know is what the term open source refers to. Basically, open source, it refers to something that you can share, modify, or delete. Um, it, it is not advised to delete code, but basically can contribute to, and because it is publicly available. So open source software is a code that is designed to be there for the people, and we as public, or we as developers, can see the code, and anybody, we can collaborate to the code, build the project, take things forward. We can add features, we can solve bugs, we can bring up discussions and talk about issues. So there are a lot of things that we can do. So the idea of open source is that we have a project and we put it out to the internet, so that people throughout the world, the entire world. It's not that if I, sitting in India, open a project, only people in India can contribute. Anybody from anywhere of the world can come and contribute to our project. And if you notice that, you'll see almost all tech giants that we talk about today have invested in open source. They have many repositories in open source. I worked at Microsoft, and I know that there are many projects in Microsoft that are open source. Basically, what they try to do is take in contributions from as many developers, or even if you are not a developer, if you are just someone who is good at technical writing or something similar to, but have some amount of technical expertise, even you can go and contribute to open source. So the idea was to build an environment where where technical the entire developers of the entire world. So that is how, or that is what open source means in a nutshell, or in short. Moving forward, we'll talk about Hacktoberfest. So the month of October, it starts from 1st October and it ends at the end of October, which is 31st October. And the entire month we celebrate open source. So basically, towards the, throughout the month, what we try to do is we contribute to open source projects, or we help open source maintainers to have been doing throughout the year to solve some issues, to add some features to their projects, or basically what we try to do is the developer community and also the non-developer community Sorry, I just got a message that my voice is breaking. If all of you can drop a text that it's fine now, I think I can continue. If anybody here can tell me that my voice is fine. Hi, everybody. Is it fine now? Okay. I'm not sure. I see some of you commenting yes, and one of you commenting not yet. Can you please tell me if my voice is audible to you or not? I'm not sure what might be the issue. Okay, so I see that it is fine now, and I'll just continue from where I left. We were talking about Hacktoberfest, and we were talking about how this entire month is about contributing to open source, and the entire idea was the brainchild of Digital Ocean. And currently there are companies like Appwrite, where I work at, and we are helping Digital Ocean, to take this initiative forward, to help more and more people to come up to the open source. So to know about what Hacktoberfest is, you can go to the link below, that is hacktoberfest.com, and you can find out what it is about, how you can contribute, how you can get started. So if you go to the website, you'll get to know all about it. Moving forward, what is Appwrite? So anybody here, if you can drop a text or a message on the YouTube comment section, that how many of you here are developers, full stack developers or backend developers? I would love to know that, because what we talk about today will help mobile developers and will also help web developers specifically. As you comment that, I'll go ahead and tell you a little about what Appwrite is. So we are an open source project, and which is why I'm talking to you about open source, Hacktoberfest, and Appwrite. So if you're thinking about contributing, you can also come ahead and contribute to Appwrite. We have plenty of issues that are very beginner friendly and good first issues. So if at any moment you feel you want to contribute to Appwrite, you can just come up. You can search us as appwrite.io. So, as the slide says, we are an open source backend server. That is in one line, but in details, what we do is, I'll explain it to you as simple as possible, and I'll not try and go into these details because I understand that most of you are students. So when you build a website, you have a front end part and you have a back end part, right? The front end part is the one that has all the beautiful stuff. The UI UX designer, they give you a very nice wireframe that the front end developers, they go ahead and build on top of it. So the text box that you see, the login pages that you see, the buttons, the hamburger icon, and everything that you get to see and you see it visually is the front end part of the website. But when you click on the button and it logs you in, or it sends you an email, or it sends you a notification or something, or it does something, you are putting logic into it. This logic part is handled by the backend. So while front end development is comparatively easy, the technicalities or logic, it gets quite hard when it comes to the backend. So what we have done at Appwrite is we have made things very easy for you. So now if you are building a website, if you're a front-end developer, you will design and you will code the text box, the button, and all of it. But for the backend part, you don't need to code the authentication logic or any of it, because we have done it for you already. We have SDK student for you. You just need to copy the code, paste it, make a connection, and your full stack web application will be ready. And this is not only for web applications. If you want, you can also do it for your mobile applications. So whatever backend needs you have, authentication, databases, storage, functions, Appwrite has all of it for you. And if you ask me that there are other backend applications or services that I've heard about, but why Appwrite? So I would say that is open source first, and you can host it on yourself. It's very on your own. It's very easy to learn, and then it requires little technical expertise and not a lot of technical expertise to get started. So it is very beginner friendly. In short, if you are a student and if you are somebody who is participating in hackathons or building full stack projects, this will definitely help you take the first step. And as I mentioned, if you want to learn more about Appwrite, you can go to appwrite.io on your browser. That is how you'll get to know what Appwrite does. And the more details here, we also have very extensive documentation. So if you're implementing something, you could just get started or learn from there, and you'll have things, you'll understand things very well. If not, we also have a Discord channel. You have me whom you can seek help from. So I'm always there to help you learn about Appwrite. Moving forward, at this point, anybody who has started, contributing to open source or have Googled a bit about open source, you must have seen that there are plenty of projects that are available. And you must be thinking that why should I do or contribute to Appwrite when there are multiple other projects that are available? Firstly, we boast, our main foundation here is our community, and the community is what that helps us grow. We collaborate a lot, we take in feedbacks, we try to give it back as much as possible. At this moment, we have over 10,000 Discord members, 26,000 GitHub stars as of now, because when we made this slide that time it was 25, and it just grew in the next, in the last 1 to 2 weeks. And we also have a jump in the number of followers. So currently it's around 114K Twitter followers. These numbers, it shows the passion or the support that we receive from our community members, and we are very lucky, or we are very humble to have the support. Next, it is a large project. If you see that there are many contributors who are contributing to Appwrite, and there's a big architecture that we have. It is doing powerful work. Even after all of these, it helps you, if you just make up your mind and want to get started with Appwrite, it is very beneficial to you. First, we have plenty of beginner friendly documentation and blogs and tutorials. So if you really want to get started, you can just start from one point, and from there it will be an easy task for you. Secondly, since it's a large project, we have plenty of easy issues that we want contributors to contribute, like documentation. Then there are tutorials. Then there are, some spell checking issues. Then there are some issues where we would want you to, uh, prune the code that we have, make it more beautiful. So there are some small issues as well that you can start contributing from. So while it might not be great for your technical expertise, but from there you'll also get to learn how to contribute to an open source project, how to raise a PR, how to write Git messages, and there are a lot of things that you can do with your contributions, which is why I suggest that while it's a large project, it's a great learning point for you. Lastly, we have a fun point, and it's about a loot. So while I talked about the technical part, we also have some fun part at Appwrite. We love swags, we love memes, and we give away swags more than we should, because even recently we gave away 100 hoodies to people, and we give away swags every month. So for that, we have an initiative called Monthly Loot. We give simple activities, like we say, share a meme about Appwrite on Twitter, and we'll select 3 random winners. And this is how we, give away swags to 3 random winners every month. So you can do that, or you can, every month the activity is different. This month the loot is just starting. So if you want to participate, you can go ahead and join our Discord channel. The Discord channel is available at appwrite.io/discord. Or perhaps at the end of this slide, I also have a QR code and you can scan it. Moving forward, we will be talking about making my first contribution. But before that, I'll also see if there are some questions that I can, answer right now. So since Appwrite is open source, can we also create our own APIs or just contribute to others? Yes, Aman. So since Appwrite is open source, if you feel that there are some APIs that we still don't have and you can contribute to, you are free to do that, because it's open source, like you can do that. Or if you feel that the ones that we have are great but it still needs some improvement, you can suggest that on our issues, and you can get to start working on those as well. Amazing. Just put all your questions that you have on the comment section, and I will get to them probably at the end of the session, or like I just did now at the middle of the session as well. So now we'll be talking about making your first contribution, and these are very helpful tips for someone who is contributing to Appwrite or contributing to open source in general, not just Appwrite. Every open source project that you see will have the same set of rules or instructions to follow. So before going ahead with that, at Appwrite, these are some of the type of contributions that we are accepting for Hacktoberfest. First is code contributions. So if there are new APIs that you want to build, like Aman just mentioned, you can go ahead and do that. If you want to contribute to our SDKs, to our adapters, to our function runtimes, you can also go and try your hands on that. Next, we also have some examples that you can contribute to, some integrations, some dev tools, and so on and so forth. Third, we also have some demos that you can contribute to. For example, we made a demo and we called it Almost Netflix. Similarly, we have many issues where you can build almost Twitter. So the front end you can build with any language. The back end of almost Twitter needs to be built with Appwrite. So there are many such demos that we have, and currently we have over 300 issues open. So you and a lot of them are good first issues or good for beginners, so you can just go ahead and contribute to them. And the last two are my favorite because this is not limited to code contributions, and anybody who is a non-technical person or somebody who is a little bit interested in tech can also come ahead and contribute. So the last two things that we have are blogs and videos and the fun stuff or even memes. So if you're building anything related to Appwrite or contributing to the Appwrite system, you can write blogs and videos about us, on us, and you can contribute to that. And if that is good enough, it will get accepted as Hacktoberfest. And lastly, we also have some fun stuff going on. So maybe some memes. Just go ahead and check out our GitHub repository and you'll get to know what all issues we have open. Moving forward, this maybe take a screenshot or like a picture of this slide because this is very important. And like I mentioned, that the tips I have from now on is not only for Appwrite but for any open source project. So whenever you are contributing to an open source project, make sure that you are going through these 4 files, and the first one is the readme file. So whenever you open a Discord repository, if you scroll down, you'll see there's a readme.md file. In that file, you'll have everything that you want to know about the project, what it provides, what it does, the architecture, the support channels that it has, the contributors that it has. Everything that you want or you should know before contributing is there in the readme file. Second, the contributing guide. So let's say if you want to contribute to Appwrite, there are some set of rules that we want you to follow, and if you follow those and raise a PR, you are good to have it reviewed by the maintainers. And some of them are very simple. Maybe the commit message that you're writing, we want you to follow a particular format, or we want also for the contributing guide, we want you to wait for the issues to get assigned to you rather than you jumping on it right away. So these are some of the guides that we have, and this will be there in almost every open source project, but it will differ from one project to another. Just make sure you're going through them and you know what are the guides that you need to follow. Third, the code of conduct. So open source should be a space where everybody feels welcome, and at no point do we want people to feel out of place or feel bad about being here. We want everybody to feel safe, which is why almost every project will have a code of conduct to make sure that it is an open and welcoming environment and nobody is feeling threatened there. Lastly, we have another file called license.md. So license file is very important because even if you go to GitHub and you see a repository that has code in it, if it does not have license file, it means that legally you cannot contribute to that project even though you can see that it is publicly available. So the license file is very important, and you need to make sure that whatever project you're contributing to has license.md file. So if you see all of these things are there in a project, it ticks mark, make you're ready to go and contribute to any project that has all of these. I can assure that Appwrite has all of these, so you're safe to contribute to Appwrite. Moving forward, as beginners, we might get stuck on how do I find relevant issues. So what you can do is you can go to our Appwrite repo, like you can just go to Google and search Appwrite GitHub, and it will give you the link of our GitHub website. And from there, you'll see that there's the issues tab. So if you go to the issues tab, you'll also see that there are many filters that you can add. So one filter can be Hacktoberfest because it's Hacktoberfest month, and only issues that have the Hacktoberfest label are the ones that will be accepted as a valid contribution. So you sort or filter your issues according to the label and find the ones that you can contribute to or are easy for you to contribute. And that's how you find issues, not only for Appwrite, but for any project. Just go to the project you want to contribute to, go to the issues tab, filter it according to the label Hacktoberfest, put first issue, and boom, you're ready to contribute. Next, these are some of the tips about making your first contribution. Once you have found out an issue that you want to contribute to, comment and tell the maintainers that, hey, let's say that this is a backend related issue, and you say that, hi, I'm a backend developer, or I'm a person who is learning backend, and this is an issue that I can work upon. It will be great if you can assign it to me. So you can comment, or you can have a conversation like this with the maintainers, and if they once they get to it, I'm sure they'll assign the issue to you. Once it is assigned, you need to fork the repository, make a clone of the code in your system, and then make the changes, commit it, write good code, use good commit messages, comment your code if you want to. And when you have written a neat and nice code, you just create a pull request, and also make sure that you have tested your code before creating a pull request. Once that is done, you can request a reviewer or a maintainer to come ahead and review your code. And at times, there might be few mistakes that they spot, or few rounds of iterations that you'll have to go through. Just ask them to do that for you, or whatever suggestions they're having for you, just go through them, fix it. And once that is done, they will approve and merge your pull request, and congratulations, you'll have your first contribution. So while you are doing all of these, just remember to be patient, because Hacktoberfest is a month where we get lots and lots of comments and issues and PRs, and it takes a lot of people's time to get through them, to review it, to test it. We will get through each issues, through each PRs, and through each comments, but it just takes a little longer. So remember to be patient. Now we'll move on to what if you get stuck. Before that, I'll just go ahead and see if there are any questions. I don't see any questions, so I'll just tell you what if you get stuck. So what if you get stuck about Appwrite or about any open source project that you're contributing to? You can get help on GitHub. So when you open a repository, like this picture here shows Appwrite, okay, you'll see that there is an option called discussions. If you see beside pull request, so you can go ahead and click on discussions, and you can see if there are existing discussions about the queries that you have. If not, feel free to open a discussion and somebody will be there to help you. You can also pull up a new issue and tell people that, okay, this is the issue that I'm having, how do I get help? And we are very active on GitHub. You can just go ahead and if you are stuck at any moment, you can just go ahead and raise a new issue or a discussion, and somebody will get to it. Next, check the docs or the documentation, which this is very important, and this is not only true for Appwrite, but for any technical project or any open source project or any tech stack that you're learning or contributing to. Make sure that you go through the documentation first, because that is how you'll get to know the basics and everything about the project or the tech stack that you're learning or contributing to. So documentation should be like your Bible, or it should be like your Gita, or it should be like the book that you go to every time you have a doubt, or every time you get into some issues. So the documentation is highly recommended. And like I mentioned about the README and the contribution guide, so you can just go through them. You'll find that there is a contributing.md file, there is a readme.md file, and there we have everything that you need to know about the project, or everything that you need to know about contributing to Appwrite or any other project, because these are the two files that almost every project, every open source project will have. And lastly, especially for Appwrite, you can ask on Discord. You can see that we have plenty of channels. And if you have specific problem to web, Flutter, Android, servers, databases, storage, anything, you can just go to the channels and ask your questions, and somebody will come and answer to you instantaneously. And the best part is that our community members, like I mentioned, are very active. So if somebody from the Appwrite team is not available, somebody from the community will be there and will be there to help you. And the best part is you don't need to wait for hours and days to get help. You will probably get the first response in a few minutes. So Discord is our go-to place. And this is true about Appwrite, but for any other open source project, if you go to the README, you'll see they might have a Discord channel or a Slack channel or some other some other means of communication. So any project that you're interested to contribute, make sure that you're joining such channels. And yeah, this is the QR code for our Discord community. I'll keep this screen on for a few minutes, so anybody who is interested to contribute to Appwrite, or just be in the Discord channel to learn from people, to meet new people, you can scan this code and join the Discord channel. And if you join, just maybe introduce yourself and say that, hi, I was at the session by Haimantika, and this is where I'm joining from. I'll keep this on for a few minutes, and while I do that, I'll check the comments. I see that there are no questions to answer. Are there any questions that you want to answer? That you want to ask? You can do that right now. I'm scrolling to the comments and I see nothing so far. Somebody commented, just like Firebase, I see Yogesh. Yes, Yogesh, that is very right. So, that Appwrite is very similar to Firebase, but we are open source and it's free to use, unlike Firebase, which is a bit heavy on the pocket. And there are many other differences between the two platforms as well. I see that there are no questions. I think we are good to go, and we are almost towards the end of the session. So make sure to drop your questions, because that's how you learn. And if not, if you're feeling shy right now, or if you feel that you don't have a question immediately, you can always reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn. Now, I would love to end this session by informing you about some useful tools. And these tools can be useful to you for Appwrite, for your own development, or for any project that you're contributing to. Starting with Gitpod. So I'd love to know how many of you here are proper coders and you have used IDEs like VS Code or some of them. So Gitpod is very similar to that, but if you've heard about GitHub Code Spaces, Gitpod is more on on the cloud side of VS Code. So it will be there on your browser. You don't need to spend hours setting. So it's very easy to use, and it's also free to use because it's open source as well. And particularly for Appwrite, if you are contributing to Appwrite, we have single click integrations with Gitpod, and if you go to a documentation, you can find those and you can get started and spin up Appwrite in just a few minutes. Next, we also suggest Grammarly, because it's a tool that will help you with set information, with grammar, with spell check. So I myself have Grammarly added as an extension in my browser. So anytime you're writing a blog or a post or anything, while we focus mostly on the technicalities of the blog, there are chances where we miss on the grammatical parts of it. So if you have it installed on your machine or you have it installed as an extension, it will check the grammar for you. It will check the sentence formation for you, and basically it will make your job easier, and you can just focus on writing it while the grammar or the other part will be handled by Grammarly. And yeah, that's it. That's all from my end. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section right now. And these are some of the places where you can get to know about Appwrite, appwrite.io, github.com/Appwrite, or even the Twitter handle of Appwrite. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And meanwhile, I'll also open my introduction slide so that if you have any questions, I know my name is not quite easy to pronounce or to remember. So if you have any questions, just feel free to drop me a text on LinkedIn or my Twitter handle, which is here below. I will be more than happy to help you.
Okay, ma'am. That was such a great session. We got few questions. Like they all
Correct.
are in chat box. The first question is,
Correct.
the how do you gain transaction for source project?
Yeah, so when it comes to gaining traction for open source project, I know that it's not an easy job, and it doesn't come in a day. So I have asked other maintainers, and if you go to Appwrite's YouTube channel, you'll see that we have also interviewed many open source project maintainers who have very successful projects. So what they told is, just having a nice product helps. So if your project is really nice, it will spread through the word of mouth. Let's say you have a project which is very nice and I use it. I'll tell my friends that, there is this project which is super nice if you can use it. So word of mouth is one way. Other than that, word of mouth and having a good product or a good solution is one way. Other than that, for them, just posting on on Hacker News helped, and some of them even posted on Product Hunt, and then some people just commented on Reddit, I built XYZ, and that is how they gained traction. While these are some, hit and trial method, the other ways that you can try is maybe writing blogs and enough content on your project. And if you are consistent with it, people, and if you're writing blogs or have enough documentation or have enough proof of concept or proof of work about your project, slowly and steadily you will try to grow an audience. And I know that it takes a lot of time and hard work, but that's how things work.
Okay,
I think
ma'am.
yeah,
The
yeah,
second
yeah,
question
go ahead.
is from Aman Damaskar. Since Appwrite is open source, can we also create our own API or just contribute to others?
Yeah, so I answered this question while I was on the session. So I mentioned that if you feel that there are APIs that is not there, you can go ahead and contribute to Appwrite API. So you have that independence, and you can obviously do that. Or if you feel that the current APIs we have needs some improvement, you can also go and contribute to our existing APIs.
The third question is, ma'am, from Sayog Jain. Let's say I have an open source project. How do I find interested people?
Yes, so I think the answer I gave right now about gaining the traction for your open source project. So it's very similar to, the steps are very similar to that. Um, Maybe the initial people can be your friends or can be the people you found online, which is why I mentioned that joining Discord channels like Appwrite or any other such communities, or joining more communities, is where you meet people. And if you tell them, I have an open source project which does this, and if that is very interesting to them, they will come ahead and join your project. So the easiest method right now is joining communities and making friends, telling them about your project. And basically you need to do some groundwork yourself to let people know about your project. And the initial ones will be difficult to find, but if you continue with the hard work that you're doing right now and you're consistent, I'm sure the next few people will come in very soon.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. That's all, everybody. I hope of I hope all of you had a great time and developed such a new found interest in a new open source. Do fill the feedback forms in the chat box to let us know if you all enjoyed. Only those who have filled this form will receive the certificate. You'd like to thank all for being a part of this session, and a big thank to our convener Amit Nerurkar sir for guiding us, and the head of department Sachin Bujewar sir for unwavering support, and to you all the audience for the great enthusiasm. Goodbye. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye bye.